Hello, Ectosage here on the Sage channel, and recently in Arena Commander, or Star Citizen, or however you like to look at it, the hangar module, they had an update released, and as you saw in probably a previous video and all around the web, it's changed the way ships handle and some other stuff, but what it's also done is added 2 more ships to your hangar module if you happen to own them. That would be this one here, the Gladius, which is absolutely beautiful, and the one over there, which is the Redeemer, which was the community-made ship where they had a bunch of different people competing to see who could make the best ship, and they had the actual game dev judges voting on them week after week and making improvements. So that's finally in the game. You can go ahead and buy that now. Bit pricey. I'll do a tour of that later, but right now I'm just doing a tour of the Gladius because it is absolutely fantastic, and I actually loaded up the game right now to do a tour of the Redeemer. But it looks like the M50's lights have gotten stuck on, as you can see by the huge shadow there. And if we were to actually run over to my M50, you can see the light beams sort of bouncing off the floor, and you can see the lights right here. So I figured I'd take this opportunity to, because it allows us to have a great look at the undercarriage of this vehicle here. And even though looking at here with the light directly hitting some of this, the textures sort of are, well, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I think it's something to do with the normal maps being blown out and not actually having anything show up on them. But you can see under here there is a huge amount of detail, and it's actually damn beautiful. I'll look at these engines again. I'm going to restart the game, so we'll take a look at them fully then when they're not so blown out. But we'll look at some of the other details under here now. Now, at the back, you can see this huge thing under here. And at first, I thought maybe it was like some other little drone it could fire because it's got the 2 little wings on it. I thought maybe it would pop off and go flying around fighting on its own, but I'm pretty damn sure that this is actually a fuel container. So you can see fuel access written there, and you see that it is actually all modeled in with a huge amount of detail. If we get right up there, you can just barely at that corner there count the polygons. It's very hard. It's a beautiful amount of detail. It actually looks like they've even, it's really hard to tell, they've either modeled in these little screw holes here, or they've actually done a really good job. No, they've definitely modeled those in there, so that's pretty cool. You can even see they've modeled in this little thing here. As I move forward, the camera bumps up and go through it a little bit, but you can see they have modeled in this thing here, and then you can see where the texture is actually skewed a bit as it's pulled back into that little nugget. That's a fine, I think, considering just how small that detail is. Just the fact that they've modeled in is great. You can see a few dents in this. I believe those are just in the normal map, probably. Bit strange that you have a ship that you just bought have dents on it, but I don't know, they're so small. You buy fridges sometimes and they come with dents. You can kind of imagine your military grade ship that's been slightly retrofitted for sale to the public might have a few dents in it, so I think it's actually alright. Anyway, you can see we also have some vents down here. A few little bolts up here, not exactly sure what these are for. Maybe you can fit more stuff to it. As we continue looking up from here, you can see more detail modeled into this ship. And you see that it's actually the texture work there. You can see that slight skewing there on where the texture is stretched. That means that probably the texture we're seeing on that right there, on that circular bit, is actually part of the same texture map on everything else, I suspect. Of course, I think they're using a lot of tiling textures on this, otherwise you'd have huge texture maps just to get the amount of detail you want, but it's probably the normal map or whatever they're using that is actually causing the stretching there. And in fact, it might be something they're actually using to do on-the-fly tessellation. It's pretty great, though. And you can see we have some more detail that's actually modeled in here, I think. I don't think it's just in the normal map. I think they've actually gone ahead and modeled in these panels here, which is just incredible. We also have a nice little glowy blue light here. I suspect that the whole circular or almost oval shaped thing here is actually supposed to be blue. It's just not showing up right now, possibly because of the blinding light we got coming in right here. Also, in moving back some more and up, you can see we have these nice little almost like support buttresses coming out to hold up this little strange thing in the middle. I think I saw some people saying online that that was the reactor of this ship. Its fuels, its energy generator area. Pretty cool. Bit strange to see it. Some people actually thought it was an engine. I really don't think it is. I think it is just the best looking reactor in the whole game. We also have these lights here, which unfortunately they're a bit blown out because of that, but they actually do produce a very nice orange glow there. Let's go ahead, and before we look at the outer edges of the ship, we're going to go ahead and look at the work on this dang beautiful landing gear. Look at that. They even had... Sorry, they even took the time to put arrows on it to show, like, oh, this will flip up this way. Oh, it's so beautiful. Tell me that none of the textures here are flipped. Oh, I can't fit through there. If only I could lay on the ground and scoot about. Yeah, you can see the textures aren't incorrectly mirrored. The caution is actually the right way around on both sides. That is some really nice work there. I wonder if it's decals projected on. You can even see here we have the little icon of the company that makes it, the Aegis, I believe it is. Let me double check that. Yep, double checked it. Aegis dynamic symbol. Actually, it's probably in the normal map, but you can see how it looks like it's pressed into the metal there. Actually, is that in the normal map? Or is that actually looking to be modeled in? That actually looks like it might be modeled in. I think they have some on-the-fly tessellation stuff here. Their normal maps are really good. In fact, they might not even be using just no. I know they're not just using normal maps. They're using a whole lot of stuff because they have the PBR stuff. I need to look into that more to fully understand. You can also see here, actually, it says Aegis just on the side of that there. Yeah, I'd say that's some on-the-fly tessellation stuff through texture work, probably. These are how like smoothed out it looks from the edge here, but looking straight on, it's pretty nice still. That is pretty awesome. God, that is cool. God, that is cool. And then just ignoring the texture work here, you can also see we just got a lot of stuff modeled in here, and a lot of stuff that would, I'm assuming these would fold up, given the arrows they have. And then it actually looks like with the joint work right in the middle here, these two might even move closer together before this huge piston thing goes ahead and begins to pull it all up. And then, God, you can see that this little arm there would fold up like that, and because that piston would pull it back, allowing this thing, once all these stuff has been pulled up and probably rotated as well, because otherwise this thing would be not exactly lining up the rest of the ship, but it would rotate sort of looking down at it clockwise if we were looking down at it from the top, fold up into there after it's, of course, as I said, pulled up through that big piston, and then the whole thing would have folded away. God, that would just be beautiful. You can even see the arrows they have on it here to sort of dictate how it's going to move, that just give you a heads up on that. It's, oh, this is some beautiful, I cannot wait to see this stuff working. I mean, what I've seen of this ship actually moving, which is very little at the moment, is just beautiful. Oh, we got another slightly glitchy light here. Cannot wait to see all these lights actually working properly as well. Moving along, you will notice this thing. Keep clear of loading mechanism. That's actually, I think, something that slides over there and goes straight into, or covers up the landing space there. Unfortunately, we don't have a flashlight, so we can't shine a light up there to see what's going on, but we can at least see all this because of the M50's wonderful lights. Slightly washing stuff out, but overall, very nice. Backing away, we're going to actually carry on, I think, just out again, and look at some of the missiles and stuff they have on this wing. So, looking up from here, we'll notice that the first little missile rack here we have, I suspect it can have 2 missiles on here. It's got one little dinky missile. I could say dinky. If we were to go in the third person, you can see it's a pretty decent sized missile. Pretty cool. You can see they even have writing on it. I'm not sure if it's the same exact missile you'd see on other ships. I suspect it would be, depending on the missile type, of course, if you had this type in the missile. But look at all the detail on it. Look at the fact that I'm not sure I can physically count any polygons on that. Maybe a few right at the bottom there. A few little straight edges. That is extremely high detail. That's amazing. You see even here, like the fins, they have these little metal straps that sort of go around the whole thing, and then little bits sticking out to hold the fins in place. The bottom of these fins, where they actually meet the actual body, also looks like they flared out just the tiniest bit. That is some truly goddamn amazing detail. They even have it at the front here, and I'm suspecting, of course, this missile, like most, can change its direction to track stuff, so that's probably what these little tiny openings here are, is sort of where it would be firing out little bursts of whatever propellant it's using to sort of course correct, because in space, the fins wouldn't be too useful at directing it. Of course, then we have the empty slot here. Nice amount of detail on this, the fact that you can see bolts. Actually looks like it's pushed in a little bit at the center point of that big flat area there. Pretty cool stuff. And then moving over, we have this missile here, which is, well, same sort of thing, but a bit heftier. And in fact, I think just because it's bigger and I can get right up to it, you can actually almost start to count the polys. You can also see the textures, the way they sort of stretch over the back here. Pretty cool. I'd like to see how they put it all together. Anyway, let's go ahead and look down at, yeah, pretty much the same thing. 2345 was what it said on that. Yeah, 2345, 7598. 7598, yeah, it looks like it's the same exact texture actually over the whole thing probably, but it's held up pretty well to being stretched over the whole thing. And you can see at the front though, we do indeed have this nice little sort of demon red eye thing, which is pretty great. The wing itself, moving out from where we were down here, you can see that we actually have this bit of a bulge here. It's really hard to actually show what I'm talking about, But if I was to do a little jump, you'll be able to see sort of over this little tiny bulge out bit here with a light on it, and this little like scoop here, which I think is actually another. In fact, I think it's a tessellation thing, or else it's they might be using normal maps in conjunction with a slight parallax to make the depth so damn good. I'm not exactly sure, but you can see that they do have this little bump out here on this whole wing bit down here, which is pretty dang awesome. It's a small amount of detail that you don't really notice, but it's the fact that it's there, the fact that you can jump and you can see up over that tiny little bit, and you see the light sort of hitting the wing above it. That's nice. And of course we have this other little wing down here we never really looked at. But as we come out further, we actually reach this thing here, this sort of big pylon here I sort of skipped over earlier with its intake at the top, or I say the top at the front, and then right here you can see a thrust vectoring thing right there. You can see how it would spin around and be able to direct its thrust in any direction along here. Not really able to point it forward and back. I suspect they have other things for it, or maybe these little fins in here actually might be the things that direct it forward and back, so these little fins might shift and turn, allowing it to fire the thrust in different directions. Either way, it's pretty damn awesome. And if we come all the way to the back, you can see it sort of has what looks like it could be another output there. And on the top, you'll see the same exact thing that we just saw on the bottom there, another little thrust output thing that could point from over there to over there, pretty much. Pretty cool. I like the symmetrical design of those thrusters being up and down, and the idea that it has a singular, or actually no, it's got two intakes, one on the top and the bottom, meaning two pipes sort of run along it, split, or maybe join up, but two pipes run along it, going to each of those vectoring things, and then actually meet up before they come to the back. And the fact that the back isn't just an oval or something, it actually has this nice little bit of design to it as well, where it goes up and then out and then up again. It's very, very nice. Danger fan exhaust, so there you go. Pretty damn cool. Ooh, didn't even realize that. You can actually see where this missile rack thing is bolted in there with some nice little detail. I wonder if the other one had that. It does indeed, so you can actually see where the missile rack connects to the actual body of the ship with those big circular things. You can even see another bigger circular area there, so it makes me think that you might theoretically be able to switch these out for different ones. Very interesting. Let's keep moving out to the far edge of the ship here, and you can see we have a nice little laser repeater of some sort here. Textures seem like they're having a little bit of a heyday on the fuzzy side, but let's be honest, you're probably not going to be sticking your face this up close to those usually. Don't know if they'll get a boost or not. A lot of detail on this weapon in itself. As I said, a bit fuzzy, but it's a pretty interesting weapon. But we're not here to look at the weapon for half an hour. We're here to look at the ship. Right at the end, this actually almost looks like a missile, but I suspect it's not. I suspect maybe it's some sort of, I don't know, radar thing. It seems like it would be weird to have a missile out here on the edge of your wing, so there's probably actually a very good aeronautical sort of setup reason for this, but I'm just unaware of it. As it looks right now, it almost, yeah, it looks a lot like some sort of special crazy missile you could almost detach with its big wings and then its small wings. It looks like you could pop this thing off and it would actually go flying and fighting on its own almost, but I'm pretty sure that's not its purpose. Let's go ahead and carry on our tour to the front section of the ship, starting from here where we left off. You can see there's some danger intake stuff here, some more panels that appear to be modeled in, or at least using that automatic tessellation stuff I was babbling about earlier. As we carry on to the front, you can see there's just a lot of nice shapes here. There's a lot of, so it's sort of a rectangular design to everything. But put together, they actually all look very, very smooth, and I love it a lot. And then it comes up to this point where okay, yeah, of course you can see right through the bottom of the ship. And see sort of a panel that you're supposed to be able to open. Pretty cool. But you can see here they all sort of come to a stopping point here where it has a big flat thing here where it just sort of stops. But that's alright, because the fact is you're usually not going to notice that just because there is so much stuff going on. And you actually see that this big flat thing then curves up and leads back with its own another set of rectangular box-like structures. It's something else. It's something else, this ship. Something else. It almost looks like it's been sculpted with clay brushes and stuff. It's very nice. And you see more paneling. Moving on, we got another wing right at the front here. If we were to hop down, you can see another maneuvering thruster of some sort with some nice caution warnings around it. Let's see if we can get right under it. Unfortunately, I don't seem to be able to, and I can't jam my head into it. I wanted to see if it had blue flame things, sort of like these here did. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to, or if it does, at least I can't see it. Let's go ahead, moving along. You'll see now the front of the ship, a very nice sleek design to it. Nice intakes. You got lots and lots of intakes and stuff like that on this ship. Pretty cool. You can also see that these have these repeating lines as it moves down the ship. At least up here. Very cool. And you get just a lot of panel work. That is just, it's nice, isn't it? Nice blue light and everything. And, oh, did you notice that? Look at this. Watch this line right here that flows down this panel and then it splits. And then it conjoins back up here. It's like they thought this thing through on how you would take it apart to replace stuff. So if this wing got damaged, it's not like you'd have to go in there and fiddle with screws. You might be opening this panel up. It says thrust whatever, but you might then reach in there, be able to pop a few things in there, and then this whole wing section would slide out from this sort of spot here where it splits to this point where it joins back up. And then you'd be able to pop in a brand new one, lickety split. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. You could imagine pushing that and maybe it would pop out and have some function to it. I'm loving this. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Just the amount of detail on this ship alone is... God, it's incredible. Okay, let's try not to spend too much time down on the floor. Let's actually get up into this seat and then we'll be able to look around it a bit differently there. I think maybe I could try jumping on top of it. If I do that, I will spare you a half an hour of me attempting to jump. Anyway, we've reached the ball turret at the front and... well, let's see. I can glitch my camera through here, and that gives us some beautiful looks at the underside of the cockpit. You can see a lot of machinery and stuff in there. Great amount of detail. Great amount of detail. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know you're not supposed to be doing that, but I just had to. And I've just realized that I didn't talk about this thing here, which is a much more simplistic landing gear than the ones in the back, but it's pretty cool because it makes this triangular-like thing where you have this landing gear facing towards the center point and those sort of facing towards the center point as well. But this one, again, it's much simpler. It still has an incredible amount of detail to it, but you can see how it would lift up and then these little doors here would then close to hide it away. And you see they have caution arrows here that I suspect are mirrored on the bottom side of this door. Anyway, let's go back to where I was. I was just about to talk about the turret, and I got distracted by the pretty doors and the landing gear. Some nice bolts on the side here. You can see that they've actually... Oh, God. As I tried to stand up there, it spurged me backwards. You can actually see here that the bolts are sort of cut into the natural curve of this outer bit here. Very, very nice. You can actually see you need some sort of wrench to even maintenance these. And they're probably so tight, of course, you would need a tool, actually, not just a bolt or something. A wrench bolt crank thing that I've forgotten the actual name for. Pretty cool though on the back. You can see they have this little junction here with its alert sign there moving down to the bottom exclamation mark, that's a word, where you actually have a camera set up. So hopefully maybe in the future you could actually access those cameras in some way, or maybe they're just the cameras that are helping you with the information to guide that weapon to aim at everything it is. I don't know. Maybe that's part of what displays to your heads-up display system when you're actually in the ship is what that camera captures. Otherwise, I'd almost want the ship to be able to have two seats, one for the pilot and one for the gun control, and one guy could very specifically just aim this thing because it has so much space here. You can almost imagine it aiming straight to its right or its left without any issue here at all. Which, of course, if you're flying this, especially with controls, HOTAS setup or something like that, you might be in a spot of bother right now because a lot of your weapons are just stuck facing forward and it's hard to aim off center. And I frankly find it hard to aim off center even while flying a ship. I prefer to have it Control C locked at the center. Anyway, that's that gun. I'm not going to get too much into it. I think the front here is actually something you switch out for a different actual weapon type, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty dark down here though, it's hard to talk about. Let's go ahead and actually go to how you would get into this ship. And that is right here. You can see there is... Oh, couldn't move forward for a second. There are no step thing, keep clear of loading mechanism, so once again it's moving. See one of those nice blue lights. But this is some of the best motion I've seen on any ship they've done. So ready yourself for this. I'm about to open it. I didn't even press the button to get up there. I should have backed away farther. I love it. I absolutely adore it. It's incredible. Unfortunately right now, as you can see, my head has just gone through the glass, so there's a small issue right now where once you try to open it up, the glass pops out of its proper alignment. I'm sure they'll get that fixed before it's actually flyable. But you can see now we are in there. We have our throttle on the left, a lot of detail in the cockpit. A huge amount of detail in the cockpit. It's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, a few little screens, a lot of stuff. I'm suspecting there'll be a huge amount of holographic stuff here. You can tell this is sort of one of those ships that they've built where they're like, okay, you're going to have screens, but a lot of stuff is just going to be on HUD. So keep it fairly simple down here. You don't see a lot of holographic displays that might be sticking up. And of course, it's a military ship. You're going to want a lot of stuff on your HUD and not down here. So you're fighting, and then you're having to look down. Bit unfortunate at that point. So it's going to be on your HUD probably. Pretty cool though, the idea that they would be displaying your enemy there and your ship there, even though it's incredibly hard to read right now. If I try to zoom in, you can see it's sort of glitched out. It's not actually trying to focus on what I'm looking at in here, probably because of the fact that the cockpit's sunk down, or the glass of the cockpit is sunk down farther than it should. Pretty cool though, you can see a CO2 thing there, pipes, lots of labels, lots of like levery things over there. Just a huge amount of detail hidden in this cockpit. It's fantastic. Looks like they spent a lot of time just thinking of, okay, what should be in here? How should all the pipes work? Anyway, press the button and hop back out of this. And away we go. Unfortunately, it's all scripted. And you see here, because the stairs went back up when I got into the ship, they're now hidden. If I press this, hopefully, yeah, they'll come out again. And you see again, that's 3 pieces there that move, and the way they shift actually in height to allow them to accommodate one another without bumping into themselves. That's just beautiful. I love it. And the fact that this thing pops open in all of its ways. The only thing I wish was different here is that there would be a button I could press in here to just allow it to close up without actually me pressing and then climbing up there. Because that's what would happen right now if I press this. Unfortunately, it makes me climb up there. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the top of the ship now. And I'm going to first off do that just by pressing our little spectate button, or insert. And you can see now, as that thing closed up, it was pretty cool there. Look at that, you wouldn't even know it's there, it's just hidden away. The only thing that really gives it away is the few edges right here. It's very, very nice. And you see this ship is gorgeous. Let me zoom out and look at it from a 2/3 angle there. Look at that thing. It's much bigger than my current flight favorite, the M50, but I get the feeling that I'm going to be flying this thing the second it's out there, just because they say it's fast, and it just looks beautiful too. It just looks like it could cut through anything. I know it's in space, and there's not much point in wings, and most ships I build don't even have them, but for some reason this silly thing looks pretty damn amazing. You could almost imagine them taking off the darker sections of the wings and just having a more streamlined version of this. Actually, it almost looks like another ship of theirs if we were to do that, but it is a beautiful thing even with its 1,000,001 silly wings sticking up. Very, very beautiful. I love this ship a whole bloody lot. Hey. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a close look at all the stuff at the front here. If I was to zoom in, you can see we have those intakes I was sort of talking about earlier. More and more things. You see the escape stickers they have pointing on the thing. Not sure that you really need those, but whatever, they're there now, and I wouldn't ask them to take it away. You see the big intakes right here. Pretty cool, the fact that you can see in there pretty far. It does just go to black from the looks of it. Slightly unfortunate, but what else are you going to do? You can see that those maneuvering thrusters we were trying to look in earlier are indeed a nice blue flame with some detail around the edges of it as well. So that's very, very cool. I love the look at that. At the top, you can see some more paneling here, an Aegis sign stuck to the very top middle. Nice and cool. You can also see from these vents, if you just follow the lines back, the fact that they start thin and they expand out gently. And then they sort of reach this point here where they're pretty dang big and they're rocking and rolling, man. Oh, I love these things. I also love the orange lights. There's a fair few more of them that you can actually see here because everything's so blown out in this hangar and because of my M50. But you can see there are a lot of orange lights. There's a lot of detail on these wings too, where you see stuff that would pop up and down, lights stuck in there. I could probably spend another hour just looking at this stuff, but my tongue will probably fall out if I keep speaking that much. Looking at this here, this little vent thing here, it definitely does look like high possibility that's not modeled at definitely isn't modeled in at all. I wonder if we could see the same from those little ones that we were seeing down here. Can I find them? There we go. There's one right there. So let's see. Because I can get closer now. No, it actually looks like that is modeled in because we can still see that area there where you couldn't before. Let's see if we can get the camera through it. If we can get the camera at the right angle, we'll actually be able to tell for sure whether or not it's modeled in. I can't seem to... Nope, doesn't look like it is modeled in, maybe. Wow, so that's just an extremely good normal map and possibly some parallax going on there. That is really great stuff. That is some really, really great stuff on this ship. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, let me go ahead and actually try to get on top of it now from jumping somewhere high. And if that doesn't happen, next thing you'll be seeing, it won't be me on top of the ship. It'll be me in a different hangar that's a bit darker. Alrighty, so jumping failed, and as promised, this is the next thing you're seeing in a, well, actually fairly small looking version of the AeroView hangar. I've gone ahead and swapped all my other ships out, that way we can get some higher frames. And, well, just because I've never seen this hangar so small, and it actually feels fairly claustrophobic, but still pretty beautiful. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the ship in the dark, and you see in the dark, I didn't even notice there were really lights there. You can see them here now, just gently illuminating the floor. And see the orange little lights I was talking about there. You can see there's some orange hiding up in there that I didn't even see before. I mean, this is the way you're supposed to look at this ship. Oh, God, it's so beautiful. You can see the orange light from there shining down on the wing. And the orange on the bottom here. I wish I could actually get under there and see what's causing it. There's some blue inside the cockpit you can see. It's just a beautiful ship. Now that we are in the dark, though, there's some orange little dots on the wing edges there that I didn't even notice before. Let's go ahead and actually look at these engines, and it looks like it might be a bit too dark now actually to see them, but there is a huge amount of detail there in those engines. I wish I could hop in and power the ship up and maybe move it somewhere, but unfortunately I can't. When I say move it somewhere, I mean move it somewhere there's some more light. So let's pop this open now. And you can see the orange glow inside there is just fantastic. Let's go ahead and hop up here. Unfortunately, once again, the glass has borked out. I hope they get that fixed the second this thing is flyable, and hopefully this thing gets flyable sooner rather than later. Oh, and my head's gone through the glass. And you can see the controls here in this blue light are beautiful. The cockpit in the blue light is just incredible. Let's go ahead and go in third person. You see now. It's just a beautiful ship. I love the fact that they have such incredibly great texture and modeling work on this ship. But then they just made it all the better by saying, you know what, let's stick these stupid little lights everywhere. Who cares if they don't serve a purpose? They might serve some little purposes, flying about and tracking your ship. But you know what? The main thing is they just look goddamn beautiful. I love the little tiny accents they add everywhere to the ship. It is incredible. This is by far my favorite ship that I've toured, just from the detail amount in it. It's, you know, on par with being my favorite thing in the game, art-wise, with this hangar that I'm in right now. It's just fantastic. Anyway, guys, that was my extremely lengthy look at this ship, and a huge amount of its detail. I love it. I'm sorry I didn't get a very good look at the engines, but here it's too dark. The other one was too bright with the M50's lights popping on. But there is a huge amount of detail modeled in on the sides of those engines, just pipes and stuff there. But this ship is incredible, and I cannot wait to get it out in the space and be flying in it. I have wanted to fly my Avenger for ages. I'm not sure I even care to touch it anymore after seeing this thing. Maybe there'll be an Avenger camper variant or something I get my hands on just for the heck of it. But this thing, this Gladius, I just want to get it out there. I just want to go flying so badly in it. Anyway, guys, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, I love this ship.